Morten,
Hey, Greg, how are you doing?
I'm very well, and you?
I'm good.
Good, good. Can you
Oh,
hear me all right?
I can hear you very good.
That's a good start, isn't it?
I'll just see if I can put something under my phone so you can see me also.
We can see the top of your hair.
Exactly. Two things. I don't have the.
I'm just.
A little bit.
It's just whirring. There we go. We can see the quiff.
Yeah.
I try and hide mine these days. It goes further and further back.
Mine is getting grayer, so.
Oh, well, I'd rather have grey than none.
That's a good point.
So how's it going? I saw you've just returned from St Anton.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
I was there last week actually. Yeah.
Cool. Good trip.
I keep losing you for some reason.
Yeah, it just keeps whirring. I've got you again now.
Okay.
So it was a good trip?
Yeah, it was a good trip. Nice weather conditions and lots of fun in the snow. It's always fun. So
the last time I went in March 2020, and it was a great trip. I came home with COVID, so it was the start of. Yeah. that was my lasting memory.
Exactly. Yeah.
But a great resort.
I think that it was actually, as it looks right now here in Denmark, it seems like it was more secure to travel to the mountains than to stay here. So,
well, I'd take the opportunity with both hands. So thanks for joining us today.
No worries.
We've already done one of these sort of interviews, so it's nothing to be too scared of, I don't think. We just wanted to sort of touch base with the people we collaborate with and give people that purchase Howe furniture a little bit of a better understanding about the designers we work with. So here we are.
Yeah.
I suppose we'll start with you as a designer, and try and get a feel for what your background is. How did you become a designer? What's your sort of main focus as a designer?
I would say that my background is I have an engineering background actually, and I think I started in this furniture business in 2006, and so it's been going on for a while now.
Yeah.
And like I said, you can also see it on my hair. It's getting more and more gray. But it has been a really good trip, and I really enjoy working in the contract furniture business. But I think that what I'm focusing on is to make just to make good products that last for many years, and that people they like both today and tomorrow. I think that's the most important thing for me when I'm making new products. And
would you say that's always been a sort of consideration from the outset, or is that as you're
definitely
changed by sort of the more recent emphasis on sustainability and what have you?
I'll say that I grew up with in a family where I was told from child that when we buy things, we should buy we should save up money and buy the better products, so both that we are more happy with the things that we buy, but also that the things that we buy, that is not just a thing that we would throw out weeks later. I think that has been a really important thing for me to have focus on quality all my life. So yeah. That's also one of the basic things that I've always brought with me when we are working in the design business. And I think I'm really happy that now that has changed also in the world, how we see products being made. It's not only about making the cheapest possible product, but it's also to use the more environmental friendly materials and so on. But so it fits quite well into the world that we have now. And yeah. I think it's going to change even more, definitely.
Cool. Well, I think we've seen. I've worked in this industry for just over 10 years, and there's definitely been changes over that time for sure. Mostly for the good. And I think over the next decade we'll see a lot more emphasis on what's already been started. So
exactly, I think that it's some of the things that we have. I think that it really has changed in how we work with things. Is that it's really more now the end clients that are seeing that this is an important thing, that we have to look at the environmental stuff also, that we can. It's not only about getting the cheapest possible product, but it's also a matter of using the right and the better materials when we are creating new products. So it's definitely changing, but it has been slow. But now it's getting more and more quickly to change all over the world.
No, and that can only be a good thing, and outside of furniture as well, I think.
Yeah.
So how do you, obviously behind this conversation today is we're talking to our people that we collaborate with, the cooperations we have with third-party designers. How do you go about picking manufacturers that you might like to work with, or how does that process work?
I think it's an interesting question. There are a lot of companies that I see myself that I could work with, because often I would go into, of course, look into their portfolio and look at what they are doing currently, and to see if there are similarities in the way we think about design.
Yeah.
Of course, I look into the manufacturers and look at how they are working with the products, and if I could be a fit in my design language. I think that's the most important thing.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And where would you say you look for your inspiration when it comes to design?
It's a typical question that I think all designers they get. Where do you look for inspiration? I think that's a hard one, because I think that everyone is getting inspiration from everything that we do. When I pick up my kids in school, or when I drive them to play dates or sports or whatever, everything that I'm doing, flying in the plane, skiing in St. Anton, I'm constantly looking at I would say details also, and functionalities, especially with simplicity. When it comes to simplicity, I remember I was sitting in a sun chair many years ago in I think that was actually Austria also, and I was sitting in this sun chair, and everything, a small table that could flip out, and the sunscreen that could fold over you, but everything was a part of that same stool. But there was a chair that was probably made in the 40s,
Yeah.
but still had all these great functionalities and all these simple ways of implementing them. And I think that's interesting. I don't think that we have to renew everything all the time. I think
would you say you're quite inspired by the functionality of things?
Yeah, really.
Industrial sort of design and what have you.
It's much more about the functionality and you can say the ideas behind the functionality that I find inspiring. But it can be everything. But
I suppose that with the collaboration with Howe, that kind of plays into your hands and Howe's hands, because that's kind of the DNA of our company and our business, isn't it? So
yeah, definitely. I would say that I've been working together with Howe since 2010, and it's been a really good collaboration.
I found something here. It's a little picture that I dug out.
Yeah.
I think this might have been at the start of the collaboration.
It's been it's from the start, yeah.
Yeah.
much more colorful hair and a bow tie.
A nice dicky bow.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually from the beginning of our collaboration. And
So sorry, how long ago was that?
I think that's it must be 12 years ago.
12 years. Wow.
Yeah. So it's quite a while, and been making a lot of different things for Howe, from soft seating to chairs and tables. So that's been a really good collaboration. But I really like the way that Howe look at these things. They are known for the functionality and to make all their products have a functionality, which I find really interesting. So I think that we have a pretty good fit.
No, I tend to agree. If based on your previous works and everything that you bring to the table, I completely agree. And would you say that there's a designer that sticks out in your mind that might have influenced you at all?
I think that there are actually a lot of designers that I'm inspired by, and of course I could name all the known names that we all tend to be inspired by, like Eames and Dieter Rams and all these guys. They are really founders of great design. And I have been really inspired by those, but I'm also really inspired by today's active designers. I think that there are some really talented designers out there that make some great furniture, and some of them are really highly engineered products, and some of them are really aesthetically beautiful things. And
touching on some competition there, maybe that we're
yeah, of
naturally,
course.
I suppose.
I don't think really that there is any competition, because we all have our own design language and our own style, and that fits into different companies. And some people, they would fit into to Howe, and some people don't fit. And I don't fit into every company. That's for sure. And I'm fully aware of that. I cannot design everything.
Yes.
So I think that you have to look at your own limits. Of course, you have to be able to evolve and change, and because it's a dynamic world that we live in, so you have to evolve. But there is also, I know that there are some certain things that I would never be good at, like more organic furnitures, where it's more softer design languages. That's not my thing.
You haven't got a sofa range in the pipeline then?
I could have I could have that, but not really organic shapes. No.
I see what you mean. And finally, I suppose, what would you say the principles of good design? I get the feeling what we've already spoken about, it's kind of, again, would be related to, the deep down, the touching on sort of Bauhaus and the functionality, I guess.
Yeah. I think that, again, it's a really, there is broad, the answer to that is quite wide, because you can say there are many good designs where you can say, here we are talking about the functionality, or here we are talking about the simplicity of a product. And everyone, I think that a good design is when everyone can understand what's going on and how the product is going to be used. And a good design is when people are happy with the product that they bought, and they are using it, and they like to use it, and they also like it in a year and in 10 years. That's the ideal. So if a product can last for many years, and people, they still think it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, from a sales point of view, we're very interested in products that are still respected and bought 10 years down the line.
Exactly. Of course, but I think that as a designer, of course, we are interested in that the companies that we work with, that they of course sell furniture, of course. But I think that most designers are more happy with the feeling about the end user being happy with the product.
Yeah, I think it's a very good sort of, you know, as a designer, that's what you want. I think, you know, from the outset, isn't it? You want to design something that people are very comfortable with, really like, and stands the test of time.
Exactly, exactly. So I think that there are so many good examples of a great design, and of course it's a great design if you can keep selling it for 50 years like some classics do. That's a great design. There's nothing to say about that. But I also think that it's a great design when sometimes you experience that you're sitting in an airplane or in a train, and there are some small functionalities on the seat or whatever that really works well. That's also a great design. So it's not only about functionality and or the aesthetics. It can be so many things, and but the best designs in my mind is designs that keep that's lasting.
Yes. Yeah, we all know that fashions and everything like that go sort of, you know, we go through decades and trends and fashions change, and we tend to go full circle as well, I think, don't we? You know, what was cool maybe in the 80s has just the past few years has become fashionable again, you know, be it
Exactly.
hairstyles, clothes.
And that's the
last all of that.
Exactly, and I think that's the interesting part of working in this business, is that the world is constantly changing, and the way that we work. I do a lot of products for the workspace, and obviously I'm looking much into how we are working in both in Europe and how we are working in the States, and that has been very different early on, and is now much more in the same line. But
So
I think
you'd say that the American tastes have kind of been more aligned with Europe now, or?
you have to be very careful about how you explain that.
I know. I was trying to be diplomatic there. Did you?
I would say that no. I tend to say it a little bit differently, because I think that for many years, I think that European manufacturers and designers have been looking overseas and looking at how are they doing it over there.
Yeah.
But I also think it has also been the opposite way. And I think that it's very clear now that we are much more in the same direction now. We are doing the same things. We are working with the same typologic types of offices now than early on. So it's much more in line now than 10-15 years ago. That's for sure. But it's both parties that have moved.
Yeah, I agree.
We have learned a lot from each other.
Yeah, that's a very, very good way to put it. I'm sure we've got some American colleagues.
I don't want to offend anyone.
No, exactly. No offense meant to be given to anybody on this conversation. So I guess we're on to, you know, furniture for Howe now, and we're in a position now where I think we're very close to, you know, launching your new design with us, which is the MN300 table series.
Yeah.
But I suppose before we get into that, obviously, I think the MN300 naturally has come around from the MN100 and the MN200. So both the MN100 height adjustable desks and meeting table ranges, and the MN200 is like a fixed based meeting table range. So, you know, talk us through those and you know, how they came about and why, I guess.
I think the collaboration with this table family started in 16. We were talking about making some more workspace furniture. That was a new thing for Howe. They didn't have any workspace for individual work space, and so we talked about some height adjustable tables and some meeting tables that could follow that table. And I wanted to bring in some a warmer appeal to these typically very hard designed contract furniture things, because when you look at that workspaces, and especially the private desk, it has typically been a steel desk, a height adjustable table with a steel course, with a steel frame and with some steel or aluminum legs and feet, and then the top. And I wanted to bring a more warm appeal into that world, and to bring some solid wood into that system. So I made some proposals for Howe at that point, where I showed Howe some height adjustable tables where all the frame, everything underneath the table was in solid oak. And I made this MN 200 table also, that with the same in the same family,
Yes.
but also and with the same design details again, but in a fixed table system. So that's how it really started, and we showed it, I think, first time. If I remember right, it was in 2016 at Neocon, and we won a prize for it.
A silver award, I believe.
A silver award for the MN 200 table. So that was of course a good start. And then if we should move into MN 300, the reason why we started talking about that table line, which is now common, is that when you start a collaboration on a new product line, then of course we have a brief. We talk about what are these furnitures going into, what are we competing against, what are the size ranges and the price range and everything.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are for everyone else.
I was wondering if the MN 300 came about because of annoying people like me that just want bigger tables and electrics and all the things that the sales people are constantly asked about. It's
exactly. There must
have been some sort of influence there from your side.
Exactly, a lot of influence, because you can say when you start making a whatever construction you're building, if it's a chair or if it's a table or whatever, or sofa, then you have some statics, and you are working with some you have some engineering work together with that. And when we made the first table series, then we had some maximum sizes that we were building with these frames, and the maximum that we could build with these frames.
Yeah.
But like you said, then we had some people like yourself calling and wanting bigger and bigger tables, and can we do this and can we do that?
I guess the markets are different, aren't they? Again, we touch on that, but requirements for different markets might be different. But yeah, I guess I love the MN 200. I think it's a lovely design. But in the contract market that we work in, straight away it's the question: where can we put the electrics? How can we accommodate for that? Where can we cable manage? All the sort of things that they would have asked with a steel frame table. It kind of has to be, or have the same sort of options to be able to do those things. So
of course, yeah.
I assume that some elements of the MN 300 came from that, but there must have been your design influence as well, because obviously there's different shapes and sizes available, the different heights that we're going to be able to do.
I think the initial thought with this table was to completely get rid of all the limitations when it comes to sizes and shapes. That was the ideal thinking with this product line. So I want to create a table system that we could build in whatever size that we were asked. Then that's
a lovely thing to be able to offer clients,
And of course there are limitations, but we can keep building a table. It doesn't really matter how long or in whatever shape we want. And the how we did it was that we, if you want me to explain that shortly.
Yeah, I think it will. If we're going into the MN 300, I think whatever you have to say about it would be good to hear.
Yeah. But how we did that is that I focused on the leg itself, and I want to make a leg that was working on its own, and where you could assemble that leg with loose frame items. and that way we could control which direction that frame would go from the leg, and how long that frame would be, and how many that we would assemble to that. So I can start with this small part here. That's the basic element in this table. It's very simple, but this is an aluminum die-cast part that we made, and into this die-cast part here we can bring in the leg itself, with just a round leg. It's assembled into the leg, and then on top and on the bottom of the part, we can mount some different laser cut steel brackets, and then it would visually look like this, something like this. But depending on then if we wanted a rectangular shaped table, or a square table, or a round 3-leg table, it's just a matter of changing the angle of our laser cut part.
Yes.
And also if we wanted a 6-leg table or 8-leg table or whatever, then we could put a T bracket onto this aluminum top.
I would run upstairs and show you well, you obviously know what they look like, but show anyone that's watching the round and the square table we have an example of, but I'll probably fall up the stairs. So
yeah.
or spinning the camera around. I'm not that familiar with Instagram Live.
No, me neither.
I wouldn't want to ruin the video.
No, that's perfect.
But yeah, I mean, we've now had we've got the samples in the showroom and they look great, and the underneath of the table is very simple. What it allows you to do is have your fixed desk mounted electrics if you're required, or a lid, or and everything that I think the modern contract market requires.
Exactly.
But still keeping everything soft. Obviously, you touch on the wooden leg, it's solid beech and solid oak, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct.
We can also stain those as well. So
also stain those in black, and maybe I'm not 100% sure, but maybe also dark stained.
I think we can. Special requests we can cater for, I'm sure. And then the top finishes are our standards, aren't they? Along with the
but all the other, exactly. So that there are a lot of opportunities with that. But I think that the biggest challenge when you're making a table like this is not really to. Now we have the table, but I think the biggest challenge is to actually to explain that the flexibility and this whole new and much wider world that we have with this table system. It's really hard to explain how it can be used and what they can do with it. I think that's the biggest challenge than to make it. So, but that's on your part.
Yeah, absolutely. Leave that with us.
I will.
Have there been any challenges with the designing of this table range? Anything that stood out that's been a bit of a pain to overcome?
No, I would say that we have actually, for once, it's been really a good project. This MN300, it was pretty easy because when I start working on a design or on a table, whatever product it is, then of course I spend a lot of time thinking about the solution, and especially on actually the functionality. So the solution and the functionality, I spend a lot of time thinking about how can I do this, and I end up making 500 drawings just when I'm sitting here talking with you. Typically I would sit with a pen and just...
You're doing very well to be drawing while we're talking. That's a skill set that not many people have.
Exactly. But so typically my desk is full with just with sketches that I after a week I throw them all out. But sometimes
for your hand sketching, I assume.
Yeah, hand sketching.
And what does that lead into? Do you transfer your sketches into digital sketches or digital versions, or what was the?
Yeah, then after when I start the process of especially the design phase, that's a really important phase of any project, and that's where you have to think about everything. And obviously, then I start with all these sketches, and I dream about the project for a a lot of weeks and investigate and research a lot on different elements of the parts that could be used in that project. But as soon as I go into I start sketching and I find something that could be interesting, then I start building these things in 3D. And yeah, that's my tool, you could say. I'm not many of especially my older colleagues. They do a lot more handcrafting things and start cutting and having it in their hand. I'm much more into the digital tool with 3D from early stage.
You'd say that, I mean, most designers kind of your, you know, your age group would be doing the same, I guess. You know,
I think it's going more and more into that. The thing is that it's taking. Of course, it's really nice to get the things in your hand, and we are also having that. But we do that with 3D printed parts and everything else. And 10 years ago, I would be standing in the tool shop making these parts myself. But it just takes. Obviously, I'm too bad at it, and it takes too much time. So it's much easier for me to make things in 3D, and of course with experience and everything else, then I also have a pretty good feeling about dimensions and what can we extrude if we are talking about aluminum extrusions, and what can we die cast, and what dimensions do we need, and what about drafts, and all these things. I'm pretty aware of those, so it's not a new thing. So I would say we were pretty lucky with this, and that's also luck. But we were a little bit lucky with this MN 300 because the first model that we made, we machined those clocks, and we got all the legs made and the frame and everything, and everything was actually working from first shot. So we actually didn't change any parts after that. But that it's not always that it goes like that.
No, I guess it's you know, every project is different, but this one seems to be something that for me and for anyone that's seen it, it's ticking all the boxes. I think it's, you know, it's very on trend, and as I say, it does everything that anyone would need that type of table to do. So
yeah,
it's in the Howe London showroom as we speak, so come and have a look. If you're nearby, drop in and see the new table range.
Exactly.
I suppose we touched on it briefly earlier, but you know, sustainability, does, you know, the timber element of the product come into play there? We've obviously, you know, we're a lot better at sourcing where timber comes from these days, and you know, certifications, FSC, PEFC. So is that something that you were thinking of with the timber range as well? Or was it
yeah, of course. All the things that we have are working with Howe is when we use wood, for instance, it's always certified wood, so it's FSC certified wood, and so we, you know, basically then you know where the wood is coming from and how the forest is. We are keeping the forest, planting new trees every time we use wood. I think that's it's a really nice story. So we always know that when we are cutting down a tree for our furniture, then we also know that they are planting a lot of new trees, and so everything is even. That's really a nice thing, and that's also the beautiful thing of working with wood. I believe so.
Oh, I agree, and I think, you know, our clients agree as well. That the way the world is a real good trail of where, you know, that wood has come from. Very easy to order.
Recycled aluminum and these things. It's really I think it's a good story, and I think that it's a must that all companies need to be aware of these things, so we can keep the world in a good shape, or in a better shape than maybe it is at the moment. So hopefully everyone is going to pay more attention to these things later on. I obviously it's really clear that it's a much more talked about subject now than it was early on. But I think that Howe has actually for many years been really good at these things.
I would say it's always been you know, a real priority for Howe as a company. You know, when I joined, I was surprised at the emphasis that they put on the environment and sustainability, even, you know, 8 years ago now, when I don't think it was at the forefront of a lot of manufacturers' minds. I think we've always been able to assist, you know, architects, designers, dealers, end users with, you know, the correct certification, help them gain accreditations that, you know, maybe other manufacturers couldn't. So I think it's always been at the forefront of our minds.
I agree. But you can say, I think that the more important thing is to get people to understand that if for instance, if you're looking at a product made with certified materials, and you're looking at a product without certified materials, then that product would typically, the other product would typically be cheaper. And you have to know
that's what we have to overcome, you know.
But that's the thing, and it's really hard to explain to people that, or to some people that if you want to use the right materials and to have a better environmental story, then you also have to pay for it, and that's just how it is, and I think that's also changing slowly, and people are getting more and more willing to pay a little bit more for the better solution.
No, I completely agree with that.
But it's always been a challenge to explain.
It's an education, isn't it? I think, and people are getting their heads around it slowly.
It is, and no products like products in the contract furniture business, they are not typically cheap products.
No,
but it's also quality products.
They have to come with warranties and everything.
Yeah, we are always talking about a minimum 5 or 10 years warranty on these products, so it's important. I think that this new table is coming with a 10-year, so it has to last. There's no doubt about it. So
it's a very, you know, considering the sizes that you can do, from experience, it's a very solid table.
Yeah,
it's perfect for contract use. You know, it's bulletproof. You know, even in the much larger sizes. So it's going to be great, I think. Look, we'll wrap it up there. I won't bore you any longer.
No worries.
A couple of super quick pointers we've got to go out on with, and these can be a few word answers, I think. What flexibility and functionality means to you?
Functionality and what can you ask me?
Flexibility and functionality means to you. I mean, you've told us already that it's very important. I mean, we've ticked.
I just think that that you have to look at the end user and functionality, but functionality is many things. It's actually also, for instance, when making a table like this, it's not only about the end user, it's also about the installer or everything else involved in that product. It's also the people on the floor making the parts for this table. Everyone the functionality has to be good for everyone. It's not a good table if it takes 2 hours to assemble it. It's not a good table. It's not a good table if the people on the ground making all these beautiful parts, if they think it's hard to do, or they get back problems or whatever working with these elements. So there are many things. So. But we have to, it's a dynamic world, and that we're living, and things are changing all the ways, and the way we work, and the way we sit, and the way we collaborate. And now we have a period with COVID, and then everything changes again. And all these furniture, they need to be able to adjust into that market. So
I think what you touched on there, with even down to like the fitting and the people that are maybe going to be moving furniture, if it's, you know, maybe not the MN range, but something that's flipping or stacking, you know.
Yeah.
They're so key to you know, winning a project or something like that. You know, if it's easy to operate, easy to handle, it makes such a difference.
Exactly.
And finally, what does it take to create a timeless design?
That's a That's a hard one.
I wish we all knew, eh?
If I knew,
Yeah.
then I wouldn't have time to sit here and talk about MM300.
You'd still be in St. Anton.
I would still be in St. Anton. Yeah, unfortunately I couldn't. It was too expensive. But I would say it's a really hard question. But I think that the simplicity is the key word to it, because if you keep it simple, then I think that most people with different tastes, they would like and understand the product.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what product we are talking about. But I just think that, for instance, when you look at Apple products or Dieter Ram that are heavily inspired by the style that Dieter Ramsey made for Brown, and when you look at all these things, they work, and everyone likes these products because it's simple, understandable, and it's just a beautiful aesthetics, and they are thought about. All dimensions are thought through. There is nothing out of the range. So
simplicity is the key, you would say.
I think so.
I completely agree, and
I think so.
Any type of products, it's, if there's too many personal touches on things, then it kind of, the fact, what we were talking about earlier with the fashions, it's likely to go out of fashion quicker.
And also keep if you keep the different materials to it's only a few different materials that you use for a product, then I think that would be a good idea. So keeping it simple, I think that's a good start for making a timeless product.
We'll take that tagline from today's interview. Keep it simple.
Yeah, exactly.
A good way to wrap it up, I think. Morten, thank you very much for your time. It's been much appreciated. Now all I'm worried about is ending the interview and saving it correctly.
And I can't help you.
No, I know. But 41 minutes and I managed to delete it. So wish me luck.
I wish you luck. All right.
All right, cool. Well, it's good to talk.
Have a good one.
You too. Cheers, Morten.
Yes, bye.
Bye-bye.